Dudgeon, owner of Paws-a-While. Been going for a while now, about 4 years, 3-4 years. Yeah, based in Cape Town. Yeah, registered NPC, and a very, very passionate lady, especially when it comes to the welfare of our animals. And today we're going to talk about your big passion, and that is sterilization and education going along with that. So recently, I think it was about the end of October, that you, in collaboration with some partners, and you can tell us about them as well, did a mass sterilization. Tell us about that.
Yeah, we partnered with the SPCA, the Cape of Good Hope SPCA, and EnviroVet, and we did a mass sterilization in Langa, which is a township here in Cape Town, a township that no organizations are really focusing on. But a lot of the times, you know, each community has its own organization looking after it. But Langa, such a populated community, doesn't have enough hands on the ground. So the area was identified by the SPCA, and there was an opportunity to collaborate, and I jumped on that. So we had our World Animal Day celebration in October, as you know.
Yes,
and
yes.
We were very, very fortunate with our sponsorship for that event. So everything that we didn't spend on the day, we put straight into the sterilization drive, and we sterilized 100 animals in 2 days.
Fantastic. Wow. Yeah. And I mean, who are the people that you work with? Because you've got to get vets. How many vets? How does it work?
One vet. It was one vet, Dr. Elisner from EnviroVet. She is incredible. She did 50 days. She has a lovely team with a vet nurse and an assistant. And myself and the SPCA team helped with the recovery, which was waking the dogs up and getting them in and out of their cages. And then the SPCA education team was very involved in the day. They were doing the collections and the drop-offs. And it was amazing to see how one person can make such an incredible difference.
Yeah, because I mean, I can imagine that the support around her needs to be excellent to enable her to do that safely, because that's the other thing, we want it safely.
100%. Not being done, there's no point in doing that.
Yeah.
But no incidents, no issues, nothing. And it was incredible to see the dogs were in such good condition. Like, some of them were actually fat.
Okay, good.
Not what I was expecting. I mean, you think that when you're going into these underdeveloped communities that the animals are going to be in really bad condition, but the body scores were all incredible. Like, there were no ribs, no bones, a couple of ticks and fleas, but that can be expected. But really condition. And what I loved the most was working with the SPCA, was to see how they handled the animals. With so much love, so much compassion. I mean, even the dogs that wanted to eat us, there were a few. There were a few that were like, you sterilize me.
Yeah, please. Oh, okay.
So it was incredible to see them in action. You know, I'm a supporter of the SPCA and a partner in terms of our adoption events, but to actually see them like on the ground doing their thing was incredible.
Yeah, yeah. Because on the day, you all had the T-shirts on with the number 23621. Tell us a little bit about that.
Wearing it today.
Okay.
Yeah, the number 23,621 is the amount of animals that were surrendered to the SPCA within 12 months. So that was unwanted and stray animals in 12 months, 1 year. It's crazy when you think about it.
Yeah, that is kind of, yeah, that makes you think, hey, because it just highlights the enormity of the crisis, and that is just in one area. I mean,
that's one organization.
One organization.
I heard the other day we have 250 welfare organizations in Cape Town that we know of, and if one organization is taking in a number such as 23,000, it's terrifying. It really is. We're lucky enough to find themselves at the SPCA.
Yeah, and that's the other thing is what happens to all of these animals, because they have to be cared for. There has to be space for them. I mean, this is a huge operation.
Yeah. So out of the 23,621, there were close to 700 adoptions, which is amazing in a year. Those homes that made themselves available to rescue.
Yeah.
There were about who reconnected with their owners through microchipping. I mean, microchipping, I wish that we could get that into the law. Like every
Yes.
animal microchipped, and that microchip needs to be registered, which is the most
That's
important.
key. Yes.
My dog is microchipped. You have to put your information in there so that they can find you. I mean, there are ways. It is quite a process to track down an unregistered microchip. And the rest of them, that's another. My math is not very good, but we can probably go with 20, 21, 22,000 were unfortunately euthanized because, where did they?
But that's the thing. And that's, people are quick to judge, but the SPCA is welfare organizations are picking up the mess that society is leaving, and then to judge them for coping with this situation and making the best for those animals, because you cannot, we've talked about this before, Carolyn, is you cannot have an animal sitting in a cage indefinitely. They need care, they need interaction, that is besides the food and the water.
Yeah. It's just the quality of life, and it's such an important thing to consider, and it's something that, I mean, I know we've spoken about no-kill shelters at length, but that for me is a big problem, because why are you sheltering this animal forever? It's cruel. It's how big is space? It's 2x2, 2x3. That's not enough. And they get times to play, but I look at my dogs. They've got freedom of my whole house. They've got freedom of the outside. They've got freedom to sleep wherever they want. And that's life. You have to look at the quality of life. And in my personal, sheltering an animal forever is not the answer. It doesn't cause any problems.
Yeah.
Is why.
And it is.
Sorry.
Yeah. No, it comes back to the quality of life and the capacity, because that's the other misconception, is that people think that everyone volunteers their time, but people must be paid for the work that they do to care for these animals.
Yeah.
It's not free.
No. It's really fun. And if you are wanting really good people, the quality of the people, you have to be able to financially compensate them.
Yes.
Yes. People are people. They've got families, they've got their own dogs. As much as I think most of us would love to just be professional volunteers, it's just not realistic. So
no, it's not realistic. No.
At the entire cost involved, I heard a number that was close to 30,000 Rand for one animal to get adopted from the beginning of the process to the end. It can cost up to 30,000 Rand, and that's one. So if you're timesing that by 500, and these organizations are all relying on the generosity of the public to donations, people don't really have money to donate anymore. Petrol keeps going up, the cost of living keeps going up. So donating to charity, the whole culture has changed. Is that the charities are donations because the public don't necessarily have the money to donate.
And it's almost like a vicious circle, Carolyn, because people, we come into financial pressure. So what is the easiest thing you can do? Oh, I have a litter of puppies, I sell them, I get 1,000, 2,000, 5,000 Rand for my puppy, and I can pay a bill. But that then puts more animals into the system, because the people taking that puppy in, or the kitten, also fall onto hard times.
Right.
And it's just this visual, perpetuous circle. And the end of it is a pet ending up in a cage.
Yeah. If they're lucky.
That,
I mean,
yeah.
a lot end of it is a pet being dumped on the beach or tied to a pole somewhere. You know, on hard times, I think that, if you look at the family structure, and I'm just imagining, because I thankfully have never been in the situation, but what is the easiest thing to get rid of when actually it's your animal? You can't get rid of it. It's not
Yeah.
so it's a vicious cycle. So the people are breeding to make the money to then sell the animal to someone that may not be able to keep that animal for 15 years.
And that's the other reality, is they have a lifespan of 10 to 15 years. And you need to be able to make that kind of commitment. I get people fall on hard times, and that is the purpose of rescue, is to help in those cases. When a person passes away, they've been in an accident, they're in financial strain. But we shouldn't be. I sometimes get the feeling, Carolyn, that pets go into shelter so more pets can come into the system.
Yeah. Especially around Christmas time. I mean, I was warning by one of the organizations to say, please don't bring me your old dog to make space for your new Christmas puppy. The reality. And that's not rescue. Rescue is an animal out of a situation where it's in danger. The stress.
Exactly.
The animal that's being severely neglected, starved, beaten, abused. That's rescue. Now that you don't want your dog anymore because now you want a cute fluffy puppy, that's not rescue.
No, that's abandonment.
And that is what is putting so much strain onto the welfare shelter system.
Yeah, it's difficult, and that number, it's a haunting number. And I think that's something that needs to be talked about a lot.
Yeah.
We all see the posts on social media and, the emotional play sometimes of these posts. And just like breeding should be done correctly, so welfare and adoption should be done correctly. You shouldn't be adopting because there's a threat that the pet might be put to sleep. Because if you don't have the resources to help that pet, or if you already are overstretched because you've adopted or you're fostering 10 and 12 animals, you're not really saving.
No.
And the intention is good. I know the intention is good, but the implication for the animal, and that's why we're seeing, especially we've seen a number of instances now with hoarding situations where the SPCA has to step in.
Yeah.
And I'm always mindful.
Yeah.
I believe that people do it for the right, or they have the intention of saving, but at what cost?
The thing is, it's so difficult because they say good intentions pave the path to hell. And unfortunately, it's true because it becomes hell for those animals. And I can understand how it's very, very, very easy to get in over your head, in terms of fostering. I've been a foster break for the last 6 months, but I've had a puppy in my every single day for the last 6 months because the breeders taking a break, the rescues aren't. It is very, very, very difficult to know when to stop and to know where you would stop, because the amount of the need doesn't have a limit. Where it sounds terrible, but a lot of us in animal welfare, we need to accept the reality that euthanasia is actually there to assist these animals, because you can't have 50 cats in one room. Besides for the health impact, how are these cats getting the right attention? I'm just saying cats, it could be dogs, it could be birds, it could be anything. But you have to start kind of going, okay, I'm small independent rescuers. What I realistically do? Where do I draw the line?
Mm.
And then instead of saying I'm a no-kill shelter, you say I'm a pro-quality of life shelter. I know where my limits are. And then bashing the shelters that do end up having to euthanize, and there are a few. It's not just the SPCA. We've got a couple of shelters. Yeah, just get the flack for most of it. But support them, you know, encourage your.
And it's, you know, if we bring that back again to your sterilization, your mass sterilizations, it's like, what do you need from the public? What do they need to do to help you? I mean, apart from them obviously making sure their own pets are sterilized.
That would be number one.
Yeah.
Sterilized.
Yeah. And that's
make
also
sure your friends' pets are sterilized.
Yes, tell the friends, tell the families, because that's, you know, when we talk about a backyard breeder, people are quick to say, oh, yeah, they're awful. But the backyard breeder is your nana or your aunt or your mum or whoever. I'm just using some stupid examples that is allowing their pet to have puppies. Yeah. They are backyard breeders. That's the definition.
My dog wants to be a mother. My dog wants to experience. Just like that's why I want to pull my hair out and I want to say it really, really doesn't. Your dog does not know what being a mother is until she's a mother. They don't have those same we have. You know, a lot of women, and I can speak for myself, I don't want to be a mother. I'm very happy with my dogs.
Yes.
You know, dog wants to be a mother, doesn't. So it is it's that explaining to people that as much as these animals are sentient and they do feel what we feel, their emotional isn't the same as ours. You know, health benefits of sterilization, which is decreasing the risks of cancer and testicular cancer for the males and ovarian cancer for the females. A lot of people don't know that animals can get cancer. I mean, I take every opportunity to educate. Even when I'm in an Uber, I'll be chatting and I'll have a little puppy with me going to the vet or going to the shelter or going wherever we're going. And these drivers, I also want to get a puppy and I have a dog and, you know, I'm going to have a baby with her. And no, please don't do that. And then and you see that penny drop, which is amazing. So it really is. It doesn't mean going to stand in front of a packed hall or going to go and stand at a school. It's just talking to random people and explaining, you know, this is the reality of where we're at. Sterilized, it's healthier. It's better for the environment at this point because we've got an overpopulation crisis. So, you know, education is it needs to be.
Yeah. No, definitely. I agree with you. I think the education and the sterilization, these two things go together. And like you say, it doesn't have to be a formal stand-up kind of session. Every interaction you have with another pet owner is an opportunity to educate, not to judge, to educate, and to help them to realize the consequences. You know, I would love to have figures that say, for instance, there's a litter of 10 puppies. How many of those puppies will remain with their first home for the duration of their life? I would love to have information like that because I don't think it's that many. I think we're lucky if 3 out of 10 puppies remain in their original home.
Yeah. Absolutely.
But yeah, we don't have stats in welfare.
And I think that is something that makes it harder, is that we've got rough estimates of. We don't actually have stats. So we work very closely with Mars Pet, and they did an index in 2022 on the state of animal homelessness. And in 2022, there were roughly 4 million unwanted homeless animals in and only 600 of them, no, 650,000 of them are in the system. So where the rest, you know, we probably way more by now. And so,
Yeah.
So sterilization, I love our pet fairs. I do. I love our adoption fairs. I love seeing getting into homes, but I really think it's just a very pretty plaster on the problem. And the only actual solution we've got is sterilization. One animal sterilized is saving potentially 8 puppies that can come out of that one female dog. Another 8 puppies out of each of those 8 puppies when they grow up. So one animal is saving hundreds of lives. Why this is our big goal, is to just keep going with sterilization and mass sterilization drives.
So if the public wanted to get involved with Paws-a-While and with your sterilization drives, how can they get involved?
Donations.
Yeah.
These drives are extremely expensive. I didn't realize how expensive they were until we planned our first one. Sterilize 100 animals is about 100,000 rand. And that's only sterilization. That's not including the costs of the petrol, of the fetching the animals. It's not the staff cost, because the organizations have to pay their team. It's not a free voluntary service. So one sterilization drive, you're probably looking at about 200,000 rand, all inclusive donations. And that's not just to Paws-a-While, that's to any organization that is doing sterilization drives. Important to identify the organizations that are doing the sterilization and aren't just doing the adoptions.
Yes.
Adoptions are great, they really are, but we have to get to the root of the problem.
Yes.
So I would say the public, my biggest ask to the public would be, go through your organization, see who are doing the mass sterilization drives, and support.
Yeah, and I suppose on a more local level, rather than giving a puppy for a Christmas present, is buy a voucher at your vet for a sterilization and gift that.
Absolutely.
Maybe, rather than adding to the problem.
Yeah, and if you want to buy a puppy for Christmas, there's toy shops. Go and get a fluffy toy.
Or go and adopt one if it's the right thing to do.
Yeah. That you don't just want a puppy.
Yeah.
And that's a big thing. Don't adopt a puppy because you want a puppy. Adopt a puppy because you want a dog. Because that puppy's got 6 months and then it's a dog.
Exactly.
For the next 15 years. So it's like, I do encourage adoptions, obviously, but I really encourage people to make sure that they are ready to adopt and make sure that they are willing to commit. Because my old boy, Django, he's 11 years old now. I adopted him 5 years ago from Tears. On his birthday, which was now on the 1st of November, they made a big deal about it. Because having an 5 years, I didn't know this, but apparently it's a really big deal. Because the amount of people that will adopt and return and adopt and return and adopt, it's frightening. So, if you want to get your child a puppy for Christmas, adopt it, but adopt it responsibly, that now you've got 2 children.
Yeah, and that's the thing, and that's almost the beauty of adoption, is you can make an informed decision about a dog that will fit in with your lifestyle. I mean, if you're in a busy home, how are you going to cope with adding? Because as much as we think they are just animals, they do have feelings. They do take time to adjust and adapt and settle into their new home. And I suspect, and you might be able to tell me better, but it's usually that initial period where the returns happen.
Yeah, it's a 3-3-3. So it's normally in the first 3 weeks where the returns happen. One of my most memorable returns was an 8-week-old little puppy. It's actually my Flora's brother, Falcon. Falcon was adopted and then he came back because he wasn't fitting into their routine. And I was like, 8 weeks old. You have to teach him your routine. And a lot with a lot of the organizations is that people, they want a perfect puppy, but these don't exist. You have to mold them, you have to train them, you have to put in the time, put in the commitment, put in the dedication, and a lot of people just aren't prepared to do that. So then they think, I'm going to go and buy a purebred because a purebred is going to be perfect. I yeah, Monday morning, I was shocked at how many purebreds there were. Pomeranians, to Huskies, to German Shepherds, to Greyhounds, purebred, 100% sitting in a... So it's difficult.
Yeah, it is difficult, and it is, I think there will always be a percentage of society that will feel that it's their right. They can breed, they can do whatever they like. And that needs to be managed through the law enforcement. And every municipality does have bylaws about keeping of animals and breeding with animals. So that might not necessarily have to be registered with a kennel union or with a registering body, but the municipal bylaws are very clear what is allowed and how they should be breeding. So yeah, so how does that come in? Can law enforcement deal with this?
Well,
Or is that a new life?
honestly, I answer this question. Law enforcement has the power to deal with it. They don't have resources. When I our animal control units, and I know them all personally, they are phenomenal, caring, passionate human beings. They have chosen to be in this unit. There's six. That's it. 6 on the ground. There's another 6 in admin. How do 12 humans enforce sterilization bylaws in a city with, I don't know how many people we have in Cape Town, but it's a lot more than 6.
Yeah.
So it helps on a case by case basis. So, when there's a puppy mill situation. But for law enforcement to go and physically enforce the bylaw, and remember, law enforcement also has a process to follow. So first they go in there, then they warn, then they warn again, then they warn again, then only can they act. That's okay. All the enforcement agencies have processes to follow. So relying on enforcement to go and enforce a bylaw is actually just, in my opinion, not realistic. So what we do is we need to get to a point where people want to sterilize. So instead of saying must, explain why. Make them want to. And that's where it comes in. So education and sterilization for me are really, it's they have to work together. Because I can't just internet, I'm going to sterilize your dog. And I've said so, it's the law.
Yeah. Because that's the other thing I wanted to ask of you. With your mass sterilization drive and the one you had at the end of October, what was the feeling from the community? How did they respond to it?
It was actually incredible. So the SPCA, and I keep talking about the SPCA, but they have been our partner for this. Their education was fantastic, and they went door to door and they explained to people the benefits of the sterilization. The fact that it was free definitely helps. The fact that it does come with a bit of food for your dog also definitely helps. It's a lot of carrot, but the community, they understood the importance.
Okay.
And favorite was a lady that just walked herself in. She'd heard we were there with her 6-month-old puppy, and she's like, I love my dog. I want to have him. And that was incredible. So it's just constantly explaining. So the sterilization drive we did, nobody was forced. Didn't go with law enforcement, didn't even mention the law, because sometimes you mention the law and people put their back up immediately. And even if they wanted to do it, now they don't. Because now you've threatened me and you've threatened me with the law, so now I don't want to do this. Why should I? Make me. Going through, you're helping your dog. It comes to temperament. When you've sterilized your dog, removing those hormones, you might very likely remove the aggression from the animal. You might remove the over boisterous behavior. My dogs missed that memo, but you know.
Yeah, no, I'm not sure about that, but it's just, you know, you don't want people to feel like they're pushed into a corner and resent you.
You're not going to get anywhere that way. You
Yeah,
really not.
and it's also because they've got to go out and tell their friends and family in the community that, look, we've done this, it's fine, the doggy goes to sleep, they do it, and they wake up and they play, and life is good, and you don't have to worry about
Yeah.
anything.
I think also the doing sterilizations on site in the community hall, I think that really helped
Mm,
because they knew who the dog was. The animal wasn't
mm.
leaving the community.
Yes.
They feel a lot of fear of an organization taking their dog
Okay.
because there's that get it back. Are they going to
Mm,
sterilize? Are they going to keep it forever? Am I going to see my dog again? Am I going to see my cat
mm,
again? So having it in the community, I think, was really
mm,
effective. Something that we want to look
mm,
at is to only do on-site sterilizations
mm.
where you can come and watch. I mean, this lady watched her dog get sterilized.
Okay.
She under anesthetic. She watched the vets, from a safe distance because of obviously
Mm.
the health
Yes.
reason.
Yes.
And but she couldn't believe it. She was like, "That's my baby," and she was crying, but it was beautiful.
Okay.
Not that she was. The fact
Yes.
that it happened, and she's like, "Wow, he's safe." And then she
Yes.
sat while he woke up, and they're so cute when they wake up from the anesthetic. They're like, "Oh, you're just gonna give me some love." So, you sit and have the owner involved.
Mm,
Even if it's in terms of bringing their dog or fetching their dog or sitting there and watching and getting
mm,
that understanding. This is how it happens. It
mm.
builds trust.
Trust. Yes, I was just going to say. And that's so important for that message to go out into the rest of the community to say,
Like, hey, I
this is
sent my 15 minutes. I had my dog back with me within half an hour, and my dog is fine. Which
mm,
will then the next person go, oh, but then my dog should be fine too.
mm,
So
mm.
building trust, and I think
Yeah.
that is actually more effective than enforcing and getting law enforcement
Yes.
involved,
Mm,
because
mm.
people don't always trust law enforcement and police and inspectors,
Mm,
and it's difficult
mm.
because there's stigma attached to it, especially when we're looking in the communities. So when it comes to relationship building in the community and getting people to want to do the right thing, I think that's definitely the best approach first.
We've got a very long way to go, and we need to keep talking about um, this specific topic because, there's a lot of misconceptions out there, and, people think that strays are just in your lower income areas, but across it's across the board. If I look at some of the affluent areas here in Gauteng, and some of the vets are like drop-off points for strays, and it's shocking to see how many animals are handed in as strays on a daily basis in
I,
affluent areas.
I actually
Mm.
saw a message come through now. I should have turned off my WhatsApp notifications,
So,
but I just saw a message come through now about another dog dropped off at the vet here where I live. And I
mm,
live in quite an affluent, and
mm,
it's
mm.
every,
Yeah,
every
and we need to stand shoulder to shoulder with this, because it's you know the overpopulation also contributes to illness. We've seen a little bit of a spike in rabies warnings, distemper, all sorts of things, because the care of the animal also goes with their vaccinations, tick and flea control, and general health checks. And if they have access to that, because of the trust that they've built with you, with the organizations, because they feel comfortable to come to you and ask for help, long term, that will make a huge difference. And they can also that spills through to the kids.
Yeah. And because, I mean, if you think about it, a lot of the animal illnesses can be spread to humans. So you've got this whole zoonotic, I hope I said that right, zoonotic disease. You know, worms is a huge one. You don't realize how ill it can make you as a person. I didn't realize until I found out the hard way. But you know, that's why it's so important to make sure that your animal is up to date with parasite control. People don't always think about it. And I myself, you know, the amount that I've learned in the last 4 years since I've been running Paws-a-While, I didn't know half of what I know. I didn't know a fraction of what I know now. Got my dog, my first dog. Education and education doesn't. It's not only aimed at the underdeveloped communities. It's aimed at society as a whole. I went to an event over the weekend, and gorgeous dogs, gorgeous dogs. And my head kept doing this because I kept looking like, oh, your dog's beautiful, but like, what are those? Why are they still there? And you can see it's an educated human, but not sterilized.
Yeah, I do kind of have to check myself sometimes when, you're at events. And that's something we've talked about. You have to meet people where they're at. And when someone says to you, I want a dog so that I can have a litter, then it's almost like the screeching sound that goes through my head. It's like, and you want to do a double take and what? But that's when you get the bell for the opportunity to educate. And that's when that thing needs to kick in. Because it's so easy to,
angry. But getting angry does not help. And I see this often at Paws-a-While. Often. I will ask people, why is your dog not sterilized? Because I don't have my dog anymore. And, but, I just want to have one litter. I have taken people by the hand and shown them every single organization, like, that dog's owner said the same. So did that puppy. So did that. Why are you special? And I asked them straight up, why are you so special to have one litter when we've got all of these that are all waiting for somebody felt the way that you felt?
Yeah.
And it's nice to see people kind of change their thinking. They don't think about that because people, I think humans, we are quite self-centered by nature. So we don't necessarily think, okay, I want to have a litter of puppies, but my neighbor also wants to have a litter of puppies, and their neighbor's neighbor also wants to have a litter. Where does it end? So it's letting people know, hey, you might want to, but don't, because we have got
rather if you do have a need for puppy cuddles, is go to your local rescue organization and get them from there, volunteer your time and make a difference in a doggy's life, foster a puppy, that kind of thing, rather than bringing more puppies into the world and then someone needs to, end that puppy's life. And the ones that brought them into life is not the one taking that responsibility 9 out of 10 times. And that's, and we must also just be clear. This is not about breeder bashing. This is not about we don't breed, because the bottom line is we all want to have pets in our lives, but we have to be responsible about it.
Look, I'm not an anti-breeder person. I understand the need for breeding, and I personally feel that if you are breeding to better the breed, it's a stronger German Shepherd, I'm just using it as an a German Shepherd, pit bulls as well, when it comes to genetics play a huge part. If you're taking two good-natured, you're kind of outbreeding the aggressive. I'm hoping you can do that. I don't know. I'm not. So I don't really.
I think it's more just about accountability. You as a breeder, the day that puppy is born, you chose to bring that puppy into the world. You are accountable to the well-being of that puppy, and you've got to be with it for the rest of its life. So, doing your home checks, making sure they're going to knowledgeable homes, making sure they go to the right families, having support there, being there when the owner has questions, or if something happens, that the breeder is the first point of call. And if the family comes into distress, that breeder will step up and it will assist, either taking the dog back, bringing it to them, or helping to ethically rehome that pet into a knowledgeable home. But you can only have that if you have a passion for what you do. And if there's a money motive, I'm sorry, then it gets difficult.
No, that's exactly what I say. Is if you're doing it for the love of the breed that you are choosing to breed, that's one. Doing it for a love of money, you should do a job. Go and find go and actual.
Yeah. Carolyn, I always love talking to you, and there's so much that still needs to be done, and the education, I think this needs to be ongoing. And with the steri drives as well, I mean, have you got any plans for your next one, or how does that work?
Do have one. I can't do much.
Okay, no, that's fine.
Very of the logistics planning, but we are planning to do something very special for World Spay Day, which is on February. We are looking at a mass sterilization drive in terms of animals, but also in terms of organizations that will be involved on that project. So it will be a first ever, but you know me, I like to do things that nobody else has done before.
Definitely, yes.
I think it will, so that's very exciting.
So if people, if the public wants to get involved, they can find you on Facebook and on Instagram, Paws-a-While. They can just type in the handle. You've got a website as well.
Our website, it's www.paws-a-while.org. And if the public would like to get involved in any way, by donating for the day, food or parasite control or sterilizations, we've worked it out that a sterilization is approximately 550 Rand an animal, which is a very incredible rate, thanks to our incredible partner. That would be the most helpful, because funding is not easy to find.
Maybe we should do we'll talk about it. Maybe we should do something, get people to sponsor a steri or something like that. I don't know, just to get involved and to see maybe the dog that they sponsored or something afterwards. Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, we'll make a plan. But Carolyn, thank you so much for the work that you do, and for the awareness that you bring, and for the continued education that is going to go out. And keep me up to date on your plans for next year. I definitely want to make sure that I get involved with that in some way. Okay. All right.
Let's wake the dogs after the yes. We'll need your help.
Oh, gosh, I'll need to bring tissues. I don't know. Bring loads of tissues.
Oh, yeah, no, it's very emotional, but it's like happy tears. That you're actually, after our spay day in Langa, I came home and I'm like, I finally feel like I've done something to help. So,
and it's a little bit, it all adds up, baby steps.
One steri at a time.
See, saving lives one steri at a time. Absolutely. Okay, Carolyn, we'll chat again, and thank you very much for giving up your time. The dogs can bark now.
And I'm so proud of them.
That'd be brilliant. All righty, you have a lovely weekend. Thank you very much for your time.
Thanks for having me.
All right.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.